Hello, welcome back to the Corporate Burnouts. Hey, Mandy, how are you?
I'm doing so good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm warm, a little under the weather, but given the last, 5 days now of the crazy winter storm listen,
Yeah.
Texas doesn't get weather like this normally, but when we do, it's really easy to play the poor, pitiful me card. But right now, it's like the whole dang country. So it's like,
Yeah,
well, we're
everybody's
all in
in
this
this
together.
together, but
Yeah,
some of us are more prepared. So I
that's
mean,
fair.
this was run of the mill. We didn't get ice. We just got snow,
Yeah.
8, 10 inches of snow. I don't really know. I don't know how many inches of snow. And so we were totally okay. But
Yeah.
I was calling and checking on you every, what,
I know, I was like,
6 or 7
we're
hours.
okay,
Like,
I'm
are you
alive.
okay now? Well, I was afraid that you guys were going to completely lose power for days.
Yeah.
Like, I was really afraid of it. And I just kept going, are you guys okay? Are you sitting in the kitchen trying not to like
Right? Yeah.
die
No,
of
it did
cold?
not get that bad here. We didn't pipes didn't freeze. We didn't lose power. I did have family that lost power for like 3 days. So that's interesting. Luckily they have a gas stove and they were able to keep the house warm
Hmm.
enough just
Yeah.
by lighting the stove. So, yeah, I think we've fared it pretty well except for if these kids do not go back to school, I'm going to lose my mind.
Yeah. Well, I I don't know. It's interesting because we live in an area that obviously you guys don't even have the tools to clear everything off, especially with ice,
No.
because it
The
just hasn't.
tractors, the farmers with the tractors are out trying to
Yeah, trying
clear
to
the
do stuff.
roads.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because you just don't have that. Like we seriously had plows coming by even after everything was all cleaned up, still over and over and over, and it was overkill, and there's nobody to save you guys. So I
No.
just
No.
I but we still live in a rural enough area, not us, but like the school district is rural
Yeah.
enough that it did take a couple days. They just went back today. So, yeah, it's interesting, and it does cause other issues
It's a
like
ripple
your
effect for sure.
yeah, like your sickness. You sound a lot better than you did, but you can still
Yeah.
hear it. It's still something.
Thankfully for that sorry as I keep
Touching your nose.
the Sudafed behind the counter, so much better than that crap that's on the shelf. Like, go get the
Okay.
real stuff. It helps. It helps a
Yeah.
lot. I
In
still feel
general,
very
yeah, prescription, the same stuff. Like my prescription naproxen is so much better. Why?
yeah.
Like why are
I
they hiding that from us? It's the same thing. It's just
I know.
stronger. Either way. Well, I hate that you have felt that way and that the kids have felt that, you know what I mean? Like it's just been all running through the house.
Yeah.
But I dealt with something different this weekend, which was so weird. I had vertigo for a few days
Yeah.
and that sucks. It wasn't nearly as bad. Like I had it once while during COVID, right after I
Uh,
had COVID, and it made sense to me. I'm like, I laid down for 5 days. Like
right.
it's that
My
makes
body is
sense to me.
confused.
Yes, and your immune system is messed up, and all things are wacky. But I wasn't sick. I wasn't overly laying down. There was nothing that made sense.
Yeah.
But I went to Dr. Callie at Rice Family Chiropractic. She is a magic woman and she got it all under control. And now I don't feel like I'm going to puke all the time.
I was gonna say I'm so glad because I don't think I've ever actually had vertigo, but that sounds terrible.
Hmm. Yeah, at best, you're dizzy. At worst, you feel like you're falling off of a cliff and the worst
Yeah.
motion sickness that you could possibly imagine. It sucks. This, like I said, this one wasn't nearly as bad as the last time that I had it 5 years ago or whatever.
Mhm.
But yeah, I didn't like it.
Yeah, between us old ladies over here talking about the weather
And how sick
and
we've been.
how sick we are, like we are just a real dream to be around. But I will say I cannot wait for the girls to go back to school tomorrow.
Mhm.
I swear to God if they don't go back tomorrow because I need there to be some kind of normalcy.
Yeah.
I work from home, right? So
Yeah.
it doesn't matter that I can't go get in my car or whatever. Like a snow day really shouldn't impact work, which
Yeah.
number one kind of sucks. Everybody else is like screwing off and doing whatever they want and out sledding and all the things. And I'm like, well, I should get to work now.
Yeah,
But I
and I
don't
just
feel good, and there's
yes.
extra people in the house, and there's all this stuff. So yeah, I've been kind of in a snow day mentality of really trying to, like, stay busy, but also
Yeah, like, get yourself to work, but
it's not.
it feels like we need to still be cuddling by the fireplace, watching movies. I
Yeah, I wanna.
So, the kids went back to school here today. Alright, this was
Mhm.
their first day back, and I I knew that the kids were going back to school tomorrow because they didn't get the call last night or the Instagram post. I was telling them
Yeah.
about how we used to sit and watch the TV.
Watch the news with it
Yeah.
scrolling across the
Yeah.
bottom.
Like, "Come on, save my school district." And you know what was funny? I was telling them so I went to Mount Zion. They went in alphabetical order, and if you saw Decatur schools go by, Mount Zion would definitely cancel. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Because if Decatur schools canceled, then everybody in the area was canceling because they had, whatever. And so we would just sit there and we'd be like, come on, Decatur. And sometimes Decatur wouldn't cancel and we would, and that would be great. But it was just funny because I'm like, now you guys just get a Instagram alert and there it
Yeah,
is.
and you just know. So it's funny because when school cancels here, the school app on my phone, I get a notification and I get a text message and I get an email and we see it on Instagram. And inevitably the kids are going to text me and tell me. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I know, like
Yes.
8 times now, I know. But we found this week, it's the exact same thing as what you're talking about with Decatur.
Mhm,
Wiley ISD
mhm,
tends to follow Abilene ISD.
mhm.
Which, when you're on the news article looking through the
Yeah.
closures or whatever, AISD is gonna come up before Wiley.
Yeah.
So, if you see Abilene ISD, you're like, "Ooh, scroll, scroll, scroll."
Yeah.
And
There's no
they're
way we're
usually
in
like
school if they don't. Yeah.
yeah, they're usually like 10, 15 minutes behind them, so
Mhm.
they're all, like, in cahoots. They've gotta be, like
Yeah.
they're dumb if they're not talking to each other,
No,
so,
they definitely
anyway.
need to. But so what happened though, the kids, I knew that they were going to school today and I have 2 interns, and I didn't even think about it. I just was like, they'll say something to me or whatever. So I wake up this morning at 7, whatever, and I'm like, oh my gosh, they're going to be at the office at 7:30 and I'm not at the office
I
or
don't wanna
close to
be.
being ready there. So I just completely forgot. Like I completely forgot because I got into the we're having snow days thing. So yeah, I called them and I said, "Hey, this is what we're gonna work on." But it's just funny because
Yeah.
you can't sometimes once your mindset gets into something, you can't work your way out. And I think that leads really well into our topic today, which is
Huh?
quiet quitting, right? Because once it's not always a choice to
Yeah.
quietly quit your job while still working there because you've gotten into this mindset and here we are. This is the day to day.
Yeah, it's really hard for me to talk about quiet quitting and not make it personal because I didn't know that's what was happening at the time. I didn't understand that this was something happening to me as like part of my burnout process. And it's so nuanced and I think it's different for everybody, but there's such a negative connotation to just the term quiet quitting, right? Like it's so viewed as like just people being lazy or like they're rebelling against the man but I don't it in my personal opinion, I wanted so bad to care. I wanted to be more productive. I wanted to show up in the same way that I had done before. And it literally felt physically impossible. Like, I would have emotional breakdowns, like, "I'm trying, guys, I promise." Like, I don't wanna suck.
Yeah.
I don't want to, but I don't know how to be that person that I was before.
Well, but that's the thing. And that's why we wanted to talk about this today because when people talk about quiet quitting, it seems like a choice, right? It seems
Yeah.
like you have made the choice to scale back and do almost nothing or just the bare minimum.
Mhm.
And that's not always the case. It's A of all, sometimes about burnout. right?
Yeah.
It's just the burnout made me do it. I don't even have a choice. I'm not trying to quit. I'm not actively looking for another job. It's paralysis a little bit of I can't figure out what to do because the burnout is pulling me down into this mud. So I think that I want to talk about all forms of quiet quitting and not just to defend you, but I think that people don't understand that it's not always a choice, right? It's not a choice
Yeah.
that everybody makes to pull way back and I just want to discuss it. So,
Well, I think that, to your point, it happens to people for different reasons, but specifically for high achievers, when it happens, it's debilitating and it messes with your confidence, it messes with your self-esteem because those things and your successes in your job tend to feed your self-esteem and your confidence and all of those things that make you feel big and strong, like a little
yeah,
kid.
it's your self-worth, like
Yeah,
that's what you've put all of your self-worth in and you don't have a choice anymore to go hard because your body is saying slow the hell down
because you
and
can't.
mhm,
And there was no amount of sleep, there was no amount of time off, like, those things didn't there was no rejuvenation in that.
mm-mm.
We
Yeah.
could get into conversations about, projects or tasks that needed to be done, and it would be like, "Yes, I'm really good at that, and yes, I really enjoy doing that." But I'm sitting in front of my computer with my hands at the ready, and I cannot make my brain function in a way that is going to produce the results that I know I'm capable of. And now in walks the shame because, like, I feel stupid and I'm not performing in the way that I know that I can, and I know what it looks like to other people. Like your fire burnout or you're just a flash in the pan and you got lucky before, or, you start that internal spiral of what are people thinking about me? What does this say about me?
Yeah,
And
well,
it
and
feels like failure
it does because, from the eyes of, like, let's just say you're a high performer, I'm your boss. I mean, that's what we're dealing with right now, right? If you stopped performing at the level that you perform at, I would be like, "She's getting lazy on me," right?
Mhm.
Like, that would be my thought, like, "She doesn't care anymore. She doesn't," right? So, the bosses, start to have this internal thing of they're pigeonholing you into what you are. I obviously would never think that, and when things do get hard, I'm like, "Are you burned out? Do you need,"
Like,
what I
what's
mean? Like,
happening?
let's
Yeah.
let's pull you back out of that because I know that you didn't stop caring. I know that but there is something that is holding you back right now, so, like,
Mhm.
let's figure it out. But this is not something that these bosses are taught. They're just like,
Yeah.
we either have a lazy employee or we have a go-getter who is on top of it and always gonna do it. And when someone goes from go-getter to lazy, it's like, we lost them. It's like, no, no,
Yeah.
no.
It's like you get put in a bucket. You're either, a high producer or a low producer. And
Mhm,
regardless of the reasons, you're in one category or the other. And
mhm,
I think that that kind of black and white thinking is what keeps people in burnout.
mhm,
It's why quiet quitting is a thing. And I think that if more people could be aware of what's actually happening to them. Because, I mean, that's the thing. I had no idea. Like, something's wrong with me. I felt like I needed to go to the doctor. What medication do I need to be on? Like, are my hormones out of balance? Like, what's happening to me
mhm.
that I
Yeah,
can't function right now? But I got out of the corporate world. And I'm not saying that that is the answer for everyone, but I got out, took a deep breath, pivoted to another direction, and like found inspiration and creativity and drive again to do something that I was passionate about doing. Um, because like the burnout wasn't eating me alive anymore.
mhm,
I think it's very nuanced, why people get into that place. For me, I knew I had come to the conclusion that, the promotion that I had been, mentally going after, even though the goalposts seemed to move over and over and over, um, I no longer wanted that path and it wasn't available to me.
mhm.
and there was really nowhere else to go, and I was exhausted, and I was kind of bored with the work I was doing because I'd been doing it for so long. So it was like,
Mhm.
what do you do with that information?
But
Just
that's
keep
huge.
trucking?
Yeah, that's huge because, yes, burnout led to a lot of it, of your quiet
Mhm.
quitting, but also it was the lack of drive because you either outgrew the job, which is what I think happened a little bit, or you know that you're never getting where you're going. And I think that that's where this could be a situation where it's a decision or it's not, right?
Yeah.
But I'm never getting where I'm thought I was going,
Yeah.
or where I had planned to go is not interesting to me anymore because I've seen what it does to the people who get there.
Yeah.
There are so many scenarios, but in that case, you can pull back. You're like, why am I going 1,000 miles per hour when I don't even want to get there? That would
Yeah.
make me pull back significantly, right? But is in that case, is it a decision or is it something that just automatically happens and you can't put your finger on it, like what you were talking about with the
Yeah.
burnout?
Well, I think for me, of course, I was experiencing burnout. Like, I know that. Yes, I do think that I was outgrowing the job a little bit. But, if I look back in that time during like probably the height of my burnout, I got a promotion. And it was like internally, I was thinking, I know I earned this. But I know I earned this with work that I did, the reputation that I created a long time ago.
Mhm.
And I know that right now I'm not performing at that same level. So it kind of minimized the worth of that promotion to me. Like
Mhm.
it didn't do as much for me because it felt like I don't really know if I should be here, but now there's even more pressure to live up to a standard that I'd set for myself years prior, and I physically couldn't make it happen.
Well, it
And the
compounds
difference
the burnout though,
yes,
whenever you put more pressure on yourself.
yes,
Ugh.
and the difference is, before when there was I had my eye on the prize. I knew the position that I wanted, and now that position is probably not going to be available for years to come because it's recently been filled and, there's not a whole lot of turnover where we were, but also had come to the conclusion that I didn't want it. I couldn't even lie to myself anymore. Like, I think that when I was realizing that I was burnout in the beginning, I had this loop in my head playing of like, if we can just make it to this next quarter, like, oh, it'll slow down then. But like, if I do just good enough, and when I finally get to this position, then life will calm down. And it was like, I just kept telling myself, if you can make it until. So you just keep going and going and going and going. And then when there's no longer like a finish line, who's trying to run at full speed?
Yeah.
That it didn't make sense anymore. And to where
Mhm.
I didn't even have the like the perseverance that it takes to like finish the race, because it was like, this race is in a circle because I'm going to stay in the same place for many more years, and I'm already depleted.
Mhm.
I mean, it came to a head for me, obviously, in the best way possible, where I was able to leave on really good terms. I was able to go and do something that I love doing. It was good for my family. Like, by no means am I like upset with how any of it was handled. I really like being able to look back and identify. And if I have one like hope for any of our listeners who are like, oh my God, I am where you were,
Mhm.
pay attention. You got to pay attention to like what's happening and what it's information. What's it going to
Mhm.
tell you?
Mhm.
And for me, it was like, you gotta find something that's gonna light your fire, because I learned quickly about myself that motivation for me, milestones were motivation, right?
Mhm.
So, in our career, there were a lot of little promotions along the way until we got to, the corporate role that we were in, and then it abruptly slowed down. And I think that that slowdown was detrimental for me, and I didn't realize how motivated by promotions and new opportunities I really was. I didn't realize how
Yep.
much I needed the change of pace in
And
what the next role would provide.
I think that's more about what it was. And it's almost like a hope, right? Because I thought the same thing. I'm like, I really don't want to be doing this life on the road anymore. But if I get this promotion, I will be on the road just as much.
Maybe
But
more.
I will be doing something bigger and better, so I will love it.
So
And
it'll be worth it.
yes, it'll be worth it, and that would have been such a mistake for me, but I think that we do trick ourselves into these things, and then once they are either not in view anymore,
Mhm.
you slow down and you're like, "Okay, I don't need to be heading this fast at anything."
Mhm.
Or it makes you go, "You know what? Why am I even doing this? Like, why am I even putting effort towards something that I want to do?" And I think that that is where some people come in, right? They come in at, nobody appreciates me here. I don't get paid extra
To
to
do
do all
extra.
this, yeah, extra work. I I'm going so far above and beyond my job description. Why? But why? And because some people are just high performers and high achievers, and they're always gonna go as hard as they can. Like, they don't have a choice. But
Mhm.
there are some people who have to push themselves to do that, and it's not appreciated, right? They have the loyalty that they were told to bring to the table, but the loyalty is not being reflected back, and they go, "You know what? Screw it. I'm just gonna
Yeah,
do
never
what my
mind.
job description says," right? Because again, there are several different forms of quiet quitting. One of them is to just do what you're paid to do and nothing more. And I think that that's probably what the majority of the people, when you've seen all these articles about quiet quitting, that's a majority of the people. They're like, I'm not going to work and punching the clock and not doing any work. Some people are doing
Yeah.
that.
Some people probably are, but
Yeah, but most of the people are like, "We're just gonna go back to factory settings, and we're just gonna do what they told me was my job." And they're gonna see a huge hole
mhm.
in their systems now that I'm not picking up all the slack, but how can they be upset with me for
Yeah,
doing
but that's gonna
exactly
be
what
their
they told me
problem.
to do? Yep. And it's especially been bad since, you know, companies have laid off people, and now this is not all companies, but some companies have laid off a significant amount of people. And now me and Mandy are on a team, and we used to have two other people on our team, but now we're just doing the work of the entire team, right? That creates a lot of resentment. It creates burnout if it's enough
Yeah.
work. But at the end of the day, it's like, I didn't get paid more. That wasn't a promotion. That was a reassessment of who does the work. And that's, sorry, that restructure did not work for me. And I'm going to do what I'm paid to do or negotiate a higher salary. That's not why they laid the people off, though. They laid the people
Yeah.
off so that they could have bigger earnings. And yeah, it makes people pull back and go to work, but only for the part that they're getting paid for.
Yeah, and, it's never gonna be easy for me to defend a company for asking more of their employees without giving more in return because you're basically it's like a bait and switch, right? Like, I started this job, this is my job description, this is what I'm gonna do, this is what my salary looks like, and then over time, I grow into this role, but the role grows as far as the breadth of work, but the pay doesn't always follow it. Now,
Mhm.
luckily, in my role, from where I started to where I ended up was light years different financially, but there did come a point where I was like, I don't think we're getting anywhere. I think I might have made less this last year than I did before. Like,
Well,
what's really
yeah.
happening? Yeah, I mean,
Mhm.
we had to really reevaluate that.
Mhm.
And there were so many different pay structures and changes that went into that
Yeah, the bonus structure is changing, just did change, the salary at the end of the day. But
yeah.
I think that that is, well, you're talking about that, I'm going, it's seriously like getting married, right? Like you find a husband and while you're living together before you're married, he's doing half of the stuff. And
Uh-huh.
he's, and then all of a sudden you get married and he's like, all that's on you now. You're
And you're
you're
like,
the woman
"Whoa,
of the
what?"
house, right? And it's like, no, we're not going to cook together anymore. You're cooking everything and you're doing all the cleaning and you're going to, this is why women divorce their husbands. They're like, now I'm raising the kids and doing all the
"And
cleaning
you?
and
No, I'm not
right.
raising you." Yeah, that
Yes.
happened to my parents. They were together, lived together, everything was normal. Dad kept his cool. They got married, and suddenly it was like, "Okay, now this amount of money is gonna go into savings, and you're not gonna touch this, and this is how we're gonna," and all of a sudden it was like, he didn't feel like he had the right to say those things until they got married. So he didn't. He just bit his tongue, and then they got married, and now he was gonna just lay out what he thought things were supposed to look like, and she was like,
Yeah.
"No, uh-uh,
No.
no,
But
I'm
some
gonna go to the grocery
people,
store when I want
yeah.
to, and I'm gonna buy what I want to, and I'm gonna," like,
Yeah.
stop.
Right. But I think that this does, I mean, it used to probably happen a lot more. We're
Yeah,
rewatching Mad Men right now. That is slightly infuriating
I
how that
know, but
all
I
worked back
love
then.
it.
I know, I do too. But with the trad wife, thing coming back, I think that a lot of people were probably blindsided by he was helpful and everything, like we did things together. We were a team. And now it's helping me if he, moves the laundry
Uh-huh.
into the dryer. And I think that this along the same lines. I'm not trying to make this about trad wives, but it's along the same lines of you moved the goalpost, and you want me to just be okay with it. And you don't want me to just go back to how we used to do it and see if none of this gets done. That's on you. That's on
Yeah.
you. You told me what my job was. I didn't get a promotion to more work and more pay, so this is where I will be sitting. And freaking fair, you know?
It is freaking fair, but it's all about how you handle it, right? Like, there's a difference in setting boundaries and saying, "Hey, what you're asking of me is not within the scope of my job description.
Mhm.
If I'm going to be accepting on new work, I would like to negotiate what my new pay is going to look like." There's a difference in having that conversation and then the rebelliousness of just not doing,
Mhm.
right? And all of this is very different than the quiet quitting of like the debilitating
Mhm.
burnout, right?
Yep.
But like it's
Mhm.
all completely different, but it all gets lumped into that one category that I feel like the overarching view of it is just flat ass laziness or the rebelliousness. It's like, "Oh,
Mhm.
you're just an asshole that wants to collect a paycheck and not do your job."
Mhm.
And it just isn't that way all the time, and I don't know that, those bosses that you were speaking of earlier that put you in one box or the other, I don't know that they're paying enough attention to what's really going on because some of it could easily be fixed,
Mhm.
like
Yep.
easily be fixed. And some of it, it's like this person might just, they might be a piece of shit low performer that you just need to get rid of. Like, I'm never going to tell you to, you know, keep those people around, but you have to identify what's really going on. And I think there's a couple of reasons that's happening. You get people in positions that are, they're in over their head. We watched people struggle through that. And then it was like, oh crap, I actually don't know how to manage this situation or even how to look at
Mhm.
or see where people are at to be able to help.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
if I'm in over my head on my own job, I definitely can't see where you're at in your own role.
Mhm.
And then there's the ones that if you're being overloaded with work, it's probably because they are too, and shit rolls downhill.
Mhm.
So there's like multiple layers of why this happens and why it gets potentially ignored or
Mhm.
neglected at the very least. But I hate how much shame there is that goes around quiet quitting
Mhm.
because it's like it's not always what it seems. And it's got
Mhm.
this negative connotation. And I think, for people that are feeling that way, I think we just have to view it as information. What is really happening? Acknowledge it. I am quiet quitting, but why?
Mhm.
where is this really coming from? And if you're just being a rebellious asshole, stop. You obviously don't love what you're doing and you probably need to figure that out, but stop being a rebellious asshole because you're making us all look bad. But
Mhm.
if it really does come down to burnout or lack of motivation because of, there not being somewhere else to go as far as, promotion wise, then have a direct conversation. Open up a two-way conversation with your leadership that could explore what change could look like, because otherwise I literally just sat in a hole drowning, and there were people
Mhm.
trying to help me, but I was like, "No, no, I got this. I'm trying. I'm trying." Like,
Yeah.
there's no
And the
reason
thing
to
is,
just
though,
flail.
that sometimes that doesn't work. So I'll give my experience. I was completely burned out, and I said I had 4 markets or whatever, and I said, "I need to get down to 1 market. I need to be able to work from home sometimes. I need to not be on the road 4 days a week. Like, that's what I need to continue to do this job." And it took so much convincing, and they finally were like, "Okay, you will have just this 1 market, and then you will do other projects." And it felt more manageable because I was doing 4 markets and these other projects. You know what I mean? So I'm like, "Okay, that sounds freaking fair." So I did that, and after 6 months, a year, I don't really remember how long that went on, they were like, "Okay, that's not working anymore," because they knew that they could get way more out of me. And so they put me back on the road to 4 markets and all the projects.
But didn't you get an option at that point? You could
Yes,
say, yeah, you could keep doing what you're doing at this salary,
yes, yes, they're like, "We'll
or
cut your salary," or yes. And that was really tough. Like, that was the beginning of the end for sure.
yeah,
Like, I was done 6 months later. Like, I shortly after that started to network my business. I'm like, "I'm gonna do
yeah,
this on the side," but I still wasn't quiet quitting. Like, I threw myself completely back in. I was working the most I'd ever worked because I was traveling so much further away. Since
yeah.
they had given all my markets up, they're like, "Well, you can go take these other markets in Arizona and New Mexico and Texas." So it all was a thing. I enjoyed that time for different reasons. Meeting new people and all kinds of fun stuff that went on during that time. But it was the end for sure. I threw myself all the way back in because I can't quiet quit. You know what I mean? Like, I can't actually do that if I have control over it, obviously. And it burned me completely out to where I was like, "No,
Yeah,
I'm freaking out of here." And it's frustrating because I understand why people would be like, "You really just screwed me over."
yeah.
I'm here to tell you that was you screwed me over. So I should just kind of lay down and be like, "I'm just gonna do the bare minimum just so
Mhm.
that they can't fire me." But instead I just quit. I don't know. I just feel that you have to read the room a little bit with your employees. And you have to, because I tried, like some of the people that quiet quit, they didn't try. They didn't try and have the conversation. They didn't try and set boundaries. They just said, "This sucks. I'm not doing it." But there are a lot of people too who tried and tried and tried. Like, I'm telling you what I am capable of. And you're saying, "No, you're capable of more," and pushing and
Yeah.
pushing for, I made the same amount. I made the same amount of money. It's wild.
Yeah, for me though, like looking back, I tried to have the conversations. In fact, the conversation came to me, and that was
Mhm,
scary as crap. When somebody
mhm,
comes to you and they're like, "Hey, so do you really want to do this job anymore?" And you're like, "Oh God, like I'm about to get fired." And I don't think that was the intention. They were like, it was
mhm.
a legitimate concern, and
Yeah.
I had to be honest and say, I don't know. I don't know because I don't know what's happening to me. I want to so very bad, and I need this job, and I still love the company and I enjoy the job, but like I can't put one foot in front of the other. And I think that was the hardest part is like I don't know what I need. There was no amount of money that was going to make it better for me. I don't even think if they said, "Hey, you're just going to work from home now," I don't know if I could have made myself get on all the Zoom calls or lead another conference call. Like it didn't matter. I was just done. And I was
Yes. Mhm.
looking for any glimmer of hope that there was a solution that we just weren't finding. And it took having those direct conversations and really being honest with myself and going through every single scenario of possibilities, even in a Disneyland world. And I was like, even at Disneyland, I don't work here. I just can't.
Yeah.
I just
Yep.
can't,
And
no matter
then
how bad I want to.
yeah, we did that episode about is it burnout or are you just done, right? And I think that
Yeah, I
we
was
both
past
got
burnout at
to
that point, yeah.
yes, we both got to just done. And I think that some people when they think about it, they'll go, "No, I'm not done. There can still be changes that can make this right." Like quiet quitting, like doing what my actual job is, that would bring me back to I'm good here. But when you expect way too much and you're not willing to work within my boundaries of that, and or you aren't willing to pay more for the extra work,
Mhm.
any bosses out there, I just want you to think about it. You have employees that are not your highest performers, right? And you can't really tell very much when they take a step back. Your high performers, when they take a big step back like this, you have a bigger problem.
That
And
should sound alarms.
yes, it should. And that's what I've said about you. Like there have been times where I'm like, she's spinning her wheels. What's wrong?
Yeah,
Is it the beginning is a burnout? Is it just that she's not feeling creatively inspired by
yeah.
these projects that she's given?
What's the rut?
Because
What's
yes,
happening? Let's fix the root. Mhm.
because it's not just Mandy got lazy.
Yeah.
Mandy doesn't want to work for her money anymore. Like, I would never think that. And if you have ever been a high performer or been the manager of a high performer, you know that they don't just get lazy. Like, there's a reason. Go find the reason.
Mhm.
It's almost always fixable. As long as you don't let it go on for years and then go and try and fix it, then it might not be fixable.
Yep.
So,
But self-awareness is such a big piece of this, right?
mhm,
Because especially like when I take our dynamic now, if there is a shift in my work style or productivity or whatever, like you have to ask a direct question, but I have to be able to answer you, which means I have to be paying attention to what's really going on and what's driving my whether it's decision making or you know I have to be paying attention to what's really going on in my brain. Are we having creative blocks here? Are we not managing time well? Are we like, what is it? What's
yeah,
actually in the way? And then with every problem that you find, finding the root of that problem and scaling it back further. You
yeah.
can ask the question all day long, but if I
Do you
am not
actually know what's
aware
going
of
on?
myself, what the hell's going on inside of me
Yeah.
to make those, you know, changes that you are seeing, then we can't get anywhere. And I think, if I look back and take any amount of responsibility for the work that I did and didn't do, the great job that I did and didn't do during that time is I had some blind spots just about myself and about how I was feeling and about what was going on, like feelings that I couldn't identify. And it took a little while to work through and be able to clearly see and communicate what those feelings were. But once I was able to identify them, that's when I was able to say, okay, well, this solution doesn't work. This solution doesn't work. Okay. The only choice
Well,
for me, the best thing for me and the company is for me to go somewhere else.
mhm. I just don't think that enough people consider burnout a mental health crisis that it actually is. Like it
100%.
and I like it's not a disability, it's not, but it is something that is affecting your brain. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, it's an actual
it's
condition. Yes.
yes, it's like depression. So I think that it just needs to be thought of that way. And I think that if I was moving in that direction again, if more than one day in a row I said, this fucking sucks. You know what I mean? Like, because we all get there where we're like, this just it doesn't feel good right now. I'm not getting anything done. Everything's going wrong. I hate opening my computer to go to work, right? If you have more than a couple days in a row like that, I would consider starting to write down at the end of the day how the day went, right? Write down like I everything was great except for I absolutely hated doing this one thing. Maybe that's where you start to set your boundaries. Like, I find myself getting super unproductive when it's time to work on this. Not you need to give this to somebody else, but like, I know I could be more productive if this wasn't my responsibility. Is there somebody who finds joy in this, right? I'm just spitballing,
And
but
every time that you're saying this sentence, I'm thinking expense reports, expense reports, expense
yes.
reports, expense
Well,
reports.
and that should have
And
been really
now
obvious to every
that's
boss.
not my problem. That's your
No.
problem.
Yes, it is. But that's why you don't want to run a business. Like, that's why you want to
Right.
work
I'm
for a
like,
business because all that stuff is terrible to you. But it's conversations that we have all the time. I'm like, I see that you put off this. Do
yeah,
you want to do that anymore? Right? Because I don't want to do that. And I'm not going to expect you to do that. We can just cut that after
yeah.
we do this one last one.
After you finish this one.
Yeah. But it's like we've found things that you kept putting off. And it's like, we will never do that for a client again. And
Yeah.
and same with me, but it's easier for me because I know what I'm thinking, you know. But
Huh.
it's like bosses, you have to look at these things and be proactive with them. Like, you clearly hate expense reports. It's not something that you can get away from in that job, but
No.
how do we get that done in a different way then, right? So that that's not what sends you into straight burnout. But
Yeah.
as
I'll
an
tell you
employee,
what
you
the
also have to pay attention, because you will be asked, and if you can't fix it, then it's going to get worse,
yeah. The solution for me was don't travel and you don't have an expense report and everything will be fine.
which is the beginning of the end.
It is the beginning of the end. But that's just it. Like it's a conversation that you have in your brain in kind of on a loop over and over and over and over.
Yep.
And for me, the more times I had it, I was a little bit more honest with myself and a little bit, and you're not intentionally gaslighting yourself, right? But like, that's exactly what it is. I want to care so much that I'm telling myself that I care. And then when I really sit back and go, I
It's
feel a
pretty
lot of
clear that you
shame.
don't care.
I feel a lot of shame in
Yeah.
admitting that I just don't care anymore. But the reality is I don't care, and I've already said it out loud now, so let's do something about it. And, you just kinda have to get to that point where the honesty is more important than covering the shame.
Yeah. Well, and I don't know. I want everyone to think about that quiet quitting is a pause and not a personality trait, right? Take this time if you need to pull back, right? And
Mhm.
get your ducks in a row, whether it's to, tamp down this burnout that is causing this, help you find time to find a new job. I don't know. You're not this person forever. And you just have to figure out what the root cause is and then find a solution. Have a conversation with your boss to let them know this is what's happening to me and I need help solving it. These are the things that are really shutting me down. And
Mhm.
hopefully you have someone who's open to that. And if you don't have someone who's open to that and their boss isn't someone who's open to that, then now it's time to look for a job.
Mhm.
But you should always be looking, it's not a long-term solution. Like, you should always
Yeah.
be looking for a solution because we've said this a million times, but you work so much, you need to not be miserable doing it. So
Yeah, no
figure it
kidding.
out.
Yeah, and if you do find yourself in that place and you're looking for more motivation or a safe place to kind of figure it out, we do have the Become conference coming up in March.
Yes. So whenever I was the most burned out, at times it would come at the perfect time for the women's leadership
Yep.
series. And
Every
I
year
am
that happened.
I know it reinvigorated. So if you are a woman that is in the St. Louis area or can get to the St. Louis area on March 12th and 13th, you really should join us for the Become conference. It's a women's conference and it's all about inspiration. Like you could be
Yeah.
somebody who is trying to decide what their next move is. You could be a business owner. You could be an employee who's super happy in their current role in corporate or for a small business. You could be literally any woman who works, and you are going to find inspiration from these keynote speakers, from these breakouts. There's so much to learn and like I said, just be inspired by.
Yeah, I think we could all use a dose of inspiration, even on our best days. Like, it doesn't hurt anything. We would love to make some more friends at the Become conference. So if you do decide to come say hello. We want to meet new friends.
Yes. We would really like to meet any listeners who we haven't met before at the
Hmm.
Become conference. We will put the more information slash registration link in the show notes so that you can check that out. And if you are listening to this before January 31st, which is in just a couple of days, there's still early bird pricing until January 31st. So take a look at
Sweet.
that. And I hope that we'll see you there. Mandy, I hope that your kids go back to school tomorrow.
Me too. Me too. It's above freezing now. I don't believe it's supposed to freeze again overnight. So knock on wood.
Yeah, should be good to go.
This time next week, hopefully we won't be talking about the weather.
Yes, no, we still will because even when it's very nice outside, we just talk
I
about the
know it's
weather.
all we
So,
talk about. We're so old.
yeah, we're boring. Sorry, guys. All right, have a good week.
Okay, love you. Bye.
Bye.